A little bit, I guess, a little bit about myself. I got my first dog. I've only owned dogs, mind you, for 9.5 years. I got my first dog almost 9.5 years ago. She is a boxer. Her name is Sansa. I'm a big Game of Thrones fan. And she was not really wanted in the beginning. I didn't like dogs at the time. It was a compromise with my ex-husband. I said, we can get a dog as long as you're the one who takes care of her. And I ended up being the one to take care of her. And she taught me a lot. She taught me a lot about love and relationships and really getting to know animals and really get to know how to communicate with beings that we don't really understand because we don't have that common language. And I'm bilingual, and I know how hard it can be to communicate with folks who don't speak any of the languages you speak, and finding that common ground can be difficult. So imagine how difficult that is with dogs who we don't even have the same kind of body language. So she taught me a lot. And then about 4.5 years ago, I brought home my boy Flash. He is also a boxer, and I was hoping for just another Sansa. She's kind of perfect, and she kind of went with the flow, and she just kind of did what I needed her to do. And Flash was a terror. He is a very difficult dog. He's extremely reactive. He doesn't really like people very much. He's not aggressive towards people, but he also just would prefer that other people don't exist. Don't look at me, don't touch me, pretend I'm invisible. That's his mantra. And I try to honor that as much as possible with other people. He also, he really enjoys the company of other dogs, but he's also nervous around them. So we had to teach him that he is safe, in fact, around other dogs, and how to communicate when he is done hanging out with other dogs. I did get him to be a sport prospect, and he showed me very quickly that he did not want anything to do with agility, which is why I got him. And we very, very quickly decided agility is not for him. He competes actively in competition obedience and nose work, and he's thriving there. His confidence has soared over the past 2 years, specifically since especially in the last actually 6 months, since he's come out of that adolescent phase. He's about 4.5, and there's a saying in dog sports, they can do at 4 what they couldn't before, which just shows like when they've reached that emotional, hormonal, and physical maturity level, that they kind of turn into a whole different dog almost overnight. And I find that really, really cool. So without further ado, I did prepare a little PowerPoint presentation here, and we'll just start that. I'm going to minimize my view, but you should all be able to see me somewhere around here on the screen. And it's just a lot of the basic stuff. That's Flash, the little white thing over here. He's a good boy. And this is the third book. We're reading together the third book of Leslie McDevitt's Control Unleashed program. It's called Reactive to Relaxed, and it's really what helped him really get comfortable in his own skin. And it's a lot of those protocols are the ones that I use with my own reactive dog clients. So let's see, what are we using here? There we go. So you want to bring home a puppy. Or an adult dog from the shelter. You're going to a breeder. I am all about adopt and shop responsibly. There are iffy breeders out there, and there are iffy rescues and shelters out there. So do your due diligence, do your research. I have zero preference about where anyone gets their dogs, and I am not opposed to either for my own, as long as they are sourced ethically and responsibly. So when preparing to bring home your new dog, you're going to want some things ahead of time. You're going to want a crate and or baby gates or X-pens, a variety of different types of toys. So like you're going to want the squishy little squeaky toys that you kind of can see in the bottom left picture that's inside those crates. Inside that crate, you're going to see a lot of those unicorn toys, a lot of those plush toys. Some dogs like the crinkly paper toys, a whole bunch of squeaker toys, rope toys, fleece toys, things like that. Things for them to chew on, things for them to tug with, things for them to like kill thrash, all those kinds of toys, different types of toys. And then you want a variety of enrichment activities for your dogs. Those will look like puzzle feeders, Kongs, like the little cones that you stuff food in. That'll be in the bottom right picture where you see those little round, wide-mouthed, round stuffable toys. Those are called topples, and then all sorts of different things like that. Those offer enrichment for your dogs. They kind of like just let their brains and their bodies do what's natural for them. It kind of decompresses them and it puts them into a nice place mentally. Enrichment toys don't need to be expensive. You can find a whole bunch on Amazon. You can find them in the pet stores. You can even make them yourself. I make my own snuffle mats. I will never do that again. My poor hands can't handle all of that. So I buy them from others who are more than willing to make them. And you can also make your own out of like paper bags, your Amazon boxes, Chewy boxes, toilet paper rolls, anything like that. You just want to stuff them with food and kind of crinkle them up and let your dog solve the puzzle on how to get the food. Those are really good because it offers them some mental activity that's safe, and they get to work for their food, which is always a good thing. They learn problem-solving skills. They learn how to build confidence in themselves and their problem-solving skills. Those are always great. Food bowls. I know it seems obvious, but when I brought home Flash, I forgot to get extra food bowls. So I had to run out that same day and get some food bowls. But anyway, now I have plenty. Food bowls can be metal food bowls, ceramic. Please avoid plastic. They're really not good for them. They're not easy to clean. Food can get stuck in the crevices of plastic, especially if they start chewing on them or if you're scrubbing them with an abrasive brush. You can't really disinfect them properly. So metal, ceramic bowls. I do use plastic for puzzle bowls, but my dogs aren't really chewing on those. And those goes through the sanitizer and the dishwasher. That words are hard today. I apologize. And then you want to get beds, blankets, and like crate pads. You want to get thin pads for their crates, so they always have something like comfortable to lay on their crate, so they're not just sitting on that cold pan. Or if you want to confine them in the kitchen, for example, where there's tiles, they still have something nice and soft to lay on. And then you also want to make sure you have collars and leashes. Yes, you want multiples of them. You will lose them, trust me. Yeah, you will lose them, trust me. I don't care really what kind of materials you use for your collars or leashes. I prefer leather for all of mine. They're natural, they're easily sourceable, they last forever, they feel comfortable, and they don't damage the dog's fur. Boxers have very short coats, so I don't have to worry about like breaking their fur, for example. But one of my older dog, my girl, she has a sensitivity to nylon, and she gets a rash on her neck where her nylon collar used to sit. So leather for her. Also biothane, which is like, they call it vegan leather. It's plastic. It's made out of plastic technically, but it's waterproof material. It's cheaper than leather. It's just as nice. I have a ton of biothane as well. All of my leashes are leather. Most of my collars are leather. I have one or two nylon collars here and there. I do have a whole bunch of fabric collars as well. Those are just for fashion. I want them to look cute. Like Valentine's Day was a couple of weeks ago, and so they wore their cute little heart stuff. I like to dress my dogs up. I'm a weirdo, but you know, that's my thing. But you will want to make sure that you have a size appropriate collar for their necks as they grow. You don't want to spend too much money on a puppy's collar, for example. Have multiples. All right, so they came home. Now what are you going to do? There are a few things that I want you to consider. Do you already have pets in your home? Intra-species introductions are a lot harder than interspecies introductions. So like intra-species are easier. Intra meaning same species. So like dog introductions with other dogs, cat introductions with other cats, they often go easier than when you introduce two different species to each other. So I also live with cats in my home. When I brought Flash home, I had to separate him from the cats. In the beginning, I wanted to make sure that those introductions went well. If you're bringing home an adult dog, for example, it's even more important to make sure those introductions go well. Separate them for a while. You want to make sure they're separated for a few weeks, actually. If you have cats and you're bringing home a dog, or vice versa, you want to make sure there are places for your cats to be able to hide, hidey holes, areas that your dogs cannot get to. So baby gates, closed doors, pet doors in those doors. For example, my bedroom has a cat door on it that the dogs cannot get through, but the cats can always have access to my bedroom. Bringing home puppies to adult dogs can be tricky. It really depends on the adult dog's personality. Flash doesn't like other dogs, or he does, but he's nervous around them, and he really doesn't like puppies all that much. And I do plan on bringing home a puppy in the next couple of years. I'm already now thinking about how I'm going to introduce them. So Flash is not going to have access, like direct access to this puppy for 4 to 6 months after I bring this puppy home. There will always be barriers in between them. Sometimes that barriers will be a leash, sometimes Flash will be muzzled, and sometimes it will be the puppies in an X pen or behind a gate. And the reason being is I would like Flash to be comfortable with the idea that there is this puppy in the house and it's staying, and don't hurt it. Puppies are unpredictable, and puppies like to get in your face. If you see this picture of baby Flash on Sansa and he's just climbing all over her, this is what puppies do. And there's nothing wrong with that, except Flash is not okay with that, the way Sans is okay with it in this picture. So I want to avoid the puppy doing that to him. So until the puppy learns healthy boundaries with Flash, and Flash learns that the puppy is not actually going to eat him or get in his face, and that I will keep him safe, they will not meet face to face. The exception to this rule will be when we hike. Because then Flash can focus on the environment around him and he doesn't have to worry about it. How long does it take for new dogs to settle in? Anywhere between 3 to 6 weeks. Minimum 3 weeks, not usually more than 6. It takes about a few days for the dogs to just, calm down initially and realize that, okay, I'm not somewhere scary. And then it takes another couple weeks after that for them to just really settle into their new routine. So assuming you're bringing home an adult dog or an adolescent dog from a shelter or from a breeder or from anyone, a rehome for any reason, expect to take 3 to 6 weeks, sometimes a little longer, but not generally any longer than 6 weeks, for them to really settle in and figure out who they actually are. So you're not going to know who your new dog is, for about that long. So you want to give them patience. You want to give them understanding. You want to give them boundaries. You want to give them as much structure as you can. And you need to just realize that this may not be who they are quite yet. How long does it take to house train puppies? Well, it depends. That's everybody's favorite answer. It depends. Some dogs, it takes them a few weeks. Some dogs, it takes them a year. Sansa took her about 9 months to fully potty train and understand what it means that she shouldn't be pottying in the house or in her crate or anything. And it took her a good 2 years after that to realize that she really shouldn't be eating wires. She's 9.5 years old. She's only been out of a crate when I'm not home for 2 years, because she likes to get into trash cans, all of these. So while I was working on training her, I also managed her by keeping her in a crate and keeping her safe from her own habits while we worked on that. And for her, that was a very, very long time. Flash is 4.5. He has been free and loose in the house for 2 years. He just learned a lot quicker. This is not something I'm going to chew on, but that is something acceptable. So I always have chewable things. I always have enrichment activities for them for when I leave the house and all of that. And it took him maybe about 2 months to potty train completely, but I'm also a dog walker. So he came to work with me a lot as a baby. And so he really never learned to potty in the house. It was never an accidental thing, for example. So you got to keep all that in mind. Potty training puppies takes consistency and it takes scheduling. So like, you never want to free feed a puppy. Always want to have set meals times for them, because that way you can always kind of sort of predict when they are going to need to potty. And then you want to take them out fairly regularly. So like an 8-week-old puppy will have to go out, if they're awake and playing, every half hour to an hour. And if they're sleeping, every 2 to 3 hours. Baby puppies will need to potty maybe once or twice in the night for the first couple of months. A good rule of thumb of how long they can hold it is however old they are in months plus 1, and that'll be hours. So like a 3-month-old puppy can hold it for 4 hours sleeping. Exercising, far less. So like if they're awake and playing or chewing on things, you want to take them out far sooner than that, and far more often. And then socialization. What is it? How do we do it? This is where a lot of people kind of miss the mark. A lot of trainers as well, just so we know. Quality over quantity when it comes to socialization. So for example, one of the reasons why Flash doesn't like a lot of dogs, and I really hate to say it like he doesn't like it, the reason why he's uncomfortable around a large number of dogs is because he was flooded, as in like I just put a whole bunch of dogs around him all the time. Because again, I was a dog walker. He came with me to work. So he was always bombarded with a lot of dogs. All of these dogs never hurt him, not a single one. He never had a bad experience. However, it was too much for him. And at the time, I really didn't know enough to know that it was too much, to read the signs, to read the body language, to understand what was happening. He just seemed like a normal puppy to me. Now I know better. So now I do better. So you want quality over quantity. So my next puppy is going to meet 1 adult dog at a time or 2 adult dogs at a time, and they will be very appropriate dogs for them to meet. And I would really like them to focus more on their environment than on each other, because I want them to learn to coexist. And I don't want my dogs to learn that they have to hyper focus on other dogs. So quality over quantity. I want socialization to be mostly dog led. So what I like to do with new dogs is I like to take them around to new places. So for example, Joanne Fabrics now allows dogs. So I'll take Flash in and I'll let him watch. I'll let him look around. He wears a vest that says in training. So folks don't come over and say hello to him because that makes him nervous. And he just kind of looks and watches and then kind of looks to me. And I either encourage him, or depending on what his body language is, we back up and we leave. He's always getting food rewards for this. He never gets collar corrections, because I don't want to punish him for showing me that he is nervous, because then he will never show me he is nervous. He will go straight for the bite. I never want to punish any of that. I always want to reward good choices, which is checking in with me, coming into me, looking to me. Those are the things I want to reward. And I don't want to punish fear, or fearful behavior, should I say. And then we also have to be wary of things called fear periods. Puppies go through multiples of these throughout the first 2 years of their life. The first one occurs at about 8 weeks old, so right around when we send them home to their new families. And the last one usually occurs by the time they're 18 months old. Sometimes they'll go further, but you won't really encounter a fear period past 2 years old. What do they look like? So say you have this nice, confident dog who loves people, has no problem going up to people, and suddenly right around, like, I don't know, 6 months of age, all of a sudden, this dog doesn't want to go up to people anymore. They kind of back away, or they start barking, or, those kind of behaviors, barky, lungy, reactive behaviors. That is a good sign that your dog might be going through a fear period. They usually last a week or 2, and that is it. What I recommend people to do is, if your confident dog suddenly starts becoming or acting fearful around anything, it could be like the fire hydrant, random cars, yourself, people, other dogs. My recommendation is always, don't push the issue. Don't make your dog say hi. Don't make your dog go up to the thing. Don't make anything. If they're still fearful after a week or 2, that means there's something going on and we need to address it further at that point. But up until then, it's likely just a fear period. And if it dissipates within that week or 2, you don't have anything to worry about. If you force the issue and make them go up to the thing, make them say hi to the people, make them say hi to the dogs, make them approach anything that they seem fearful of during a fear period, all you're doing is reinforcing the fact that they are going that they have something to be afraid of. So you don't want to force it. So basic training the positive way. I consider myself a positive reinforcement trainer, but I also consider myself a LIMA trainer. And what that means is just least intrusive, minimally aversive. So I use the least intrusive methods possible and the most minimally aversive methods possible. So if I have a dog that's pulling on their leash on walks, I'm not going to immediately go to a prong collar. I am first going to try working with food. Say food is not rewarding enough and it's just not cutting through whatever it is that the dog is reacting to. So oftentimes dogs pull because they want to get to something or because they want to escape something. So if it's a fear reactive dog, food might not always work. And in that case, I might want to switch to a front clip harness, which is still an aversive tool because it's punishing pulling, but it's not harming the dog. It's not harming the dog's psyche. It's not scaring the dog. It's not causing pain or too much physical discomfort. I hate to say that it doesn't cause physical discomfort at all because it does, unfortunately, but just minimally. So then I would go there and that would help manage the problem while I help them work through it. So that's what least intrusive, minimally aversive means, is you're going to go from the kindest, most positive thing to help train them and then work your way into slightly more involved tools or procedures. Now, because I am a positive reinforcement trainer, oftentimes a prong collar or a shock collar or even just leash corrections are not generally on the table for me to use, but they are for many LIMA trainers. So I mentioned before about Control Unleashed and that program that I studied under and the fact that I am a Certified Control Unleashed Instructor. So what is Control Unleashed? It is a program developed by Leslie McDevitt back in, I think, 2001 is when she wrote her first book. And it helps give dogs the confidence to navigate everyday life and to navigate their own counter conditioning and desensitization protocols by teaching them that there is a system and that they can work the system. So first I have to teach my dog that this is how it works. If you do A, B will happen. If you do B, C will happen. And then I have to teach them how to do A and how to do B in order to make that consequence that they want happen. So Flash is barking at dogs walking down the street because they're unruly and out of control and barking at him. And he wants distance from them. I have to teach him that in order to gain that distance, he can talk calmly, reorient himself to me, look, watch, and then look back at me, sit if he needs to, nudge me sometimes. He nudges me with his muzzle on my thigh. Any kind of behavior that is not barking and lunging in order to gain that distance. He needs to learn that he can get what he needs through calm behaviors. And that's the system, and I showed him how to work it through desensitization and training. So does positive reinforcement work for every dog? Yes. But not every single, it's not a cookie cutter method, and many positive reinforcement trainers use cookie cutter methods. This is how you do it, and this is how you do it for all dogs. Well, I can't help you, I'm gonna refer you to another trainer. And that's how a lot of positive reinforcement trainers are. They only know their cookie cutter methods. I've gone beyond that because my dog the cookie cutter methods did not work for him. The basics of positive reinforcement did not work for him. So I went and sought other trainers who are more knowledgeable than the ones who I was working with and more knowledgeable, obviously, than myself. I've spent thousands of dollars. I've traveled hundreds of miles. No, that's a lie, thousands of miles, and spent countless hours working with these trainers to help improve my dog's quality of life. Because, as I said, prong collars, shock collars, all of these are not on the table for me. And because I did that and I gained all that knowledge from all these other trainers, I can now better help my clients. I don't have cookie cutter methods. I go based on the dog in front of me. Is this going to work for you? No. Okay, how about this? No. Okay, how about this? I have so many different protocols and so many different ways to work my protocols that I can often find what the dog needs within the first session that I meet them in. I'm currently working with a dog who is extremely fear aggressive of humans. We work in the backyard. It's a fenced in yard. Their owner is there with them. And for the first 2 or 3 sessions, all I did was throw food at the dog from a distance behind the fence. And what that did was teach the dog that I'm okay because all I'm going to do is throw food. I'm not going to approach you before you're ready. And I'm just going to throw food at you for doing nothing. All you have to do is exist and you're going to get food from me. High value food and always from a distance. Why am I throwing it? Because I don't want conflict. I don't want the dog to go, I really want that food, but also I'm terrified of you. I don't want that to happen. I might accidentally poison the food at that point. And then they go, I'm more afraid of you than I want the food. So throwing food, eventually this dog was like, yeah, so where's the food? Then I could go, okay, can you sit? Yeah, I can sit. All right, here's the food. And that's how we began working. That kind of method is also called protected contact training. So there is protective, there is no contact. We are both protected. The dog's on the one side of the gate. I'm on the other side of the gate. There is no way for the dog to harm me. There's no way for me to harm the dog. It's how zookeepers and zoo trainers train their animals. If you like see those videos of like tigers having consenting to like blood draws and things, that's how they do it, is through cooperative counter conditioning and through protected contact training. It's really kind of cool. I nerd out about it way too much. Reward markers, what are they and do they matter? There's a lot of science on that, but the easy, simple answer is yes, they matter and they work. What are they? So if you're familiar with clicker training, it's a box. Let me see if I have a clicker here. I'm in my car for a reason, and I will bring that up. I forgot one at the beginning. This is a clicker. It makes this kind of sound. And all that does is tell the dog, yes, you did something right. Here's a cookie. So you marked the behavior, but more importantly, you marked the fact that a reward is coming. So that's what a reward marker is. I have multiple verbal reward markers. So I have the clicker, of course, but then I have a word that sounds like a yip, a high-pitched yip, and it means come take the food from my hand. Yes, you did right. Now come take the food. And then I have get it, which means yes, you did right. I'm going to toss one cookie. I want you to look for it. So when I say get it, I expect my dog to look at my hand to see where I'm going to throw it. And oftentimes I throw it behind me. Because the thing that's scary is behind my dog, and to gain distance from the thing, he has to go behind me. I have one that says bounce, and it's like, yes, you did great. Now come up here. I'm going to hold my hand up to like about shoulder height. Come jump up and get the cookie that was in my hand. And I have multiples of these, and I encourage everybody to have at least two. A come get it from my hand, and I'm going to throw the cookie. So a yes or a yip and a get it. I also use scatter. Scatter is one of the most valuable reward markers I have, and it means I'm going to place a handful of cookies on the ground for you to eat. And what it does is it distracts the dogs and it encourages sniffing, and sniffing then helps calm the dog's nerves. There is science behind it. It increases and releases dopamine, all of these things. So once they know what a scatter means and they associate that word with the scatter, just the word itself will be enough to release the dopamine. And that's how it desensitizes other dogs. So like I recalled Flash off of a freaking coyote about 3 weeks ago. I have no video evidence of this, but I have a witness. And in fact, that's the incident that made me go buy a GoPro and one of those body harnesses so that I always have something on film, because that was so cool. And how do I not have proof of this? And all I did was sit there and watch him stare off with this coyote until it occurred to me to say scatter. And he turned around and came right back to me. So he recalled off of coyotes for cheese. This is a dog who used to leave the ring in competition. You see this picture of him sitting so nicely with all these dogs. He used to leave this competition ring to go attack crates. And I recalled him off a coyote using cheese. It's amazing. All right, let's get into the meatiness of this. Like now I'm really going to nerd out. I nerded out a little bit, but like let me nerd out some more. Behavior modification. This is the nitty and the gritty. This is what most of my clients need from me. It's reactive dogs that need to learn how to allow husbandry care. So these are dogs that are aggressive at the vet's office. These are dogs that are aggressive at the groomers. So dogs, how do we allow dogs to how do we help dogs, should I say, allow us to do what we need to do to care for them? So this is my cat in this video, and it's my dog's cousin. So his breeder, I was watching her for a few weeks, and I needed to do her nails. She does not like having her nails done. She pulls her feet away. She screams. It's a fight. It's a battle that the breeder fights weekly with her. And I don't fight for nails. Like I've been there, done that, and I really don't want to do it anymore. So I was helping her work on it. And of course, because I video everything I do, I have wonderful video of this. But anyway, let's back up a little bit before I show the video. So the first steps to behavior modification are physical wellness and behavioral wellness. If your dog is suddenly showing aggressive tendencies and aggressive behaviors, that's the barking, lunging, attempting to bite, turning around and directing all those behaviors to you, their handler or their owner, biting your arms, biting your sleeves and things like that, your clothing, the first thing you want to do is get them checked out by a vet. And I mean a complete checkout. Physically checked out, blood work, have everything, their mouth checked, their ears checked. You want to make sure there's nothing physically wrong with them. Oftentimes, dogs who are aggressive or showing aggressive behaviors, including resource guarding, are in pain, and we just don't know it, or there's something wrong with them and we just don't know it. So you want to get, first things first is you're going to get them checked out by a vet. And then you want to change around their environment. Secondly, like say everything's good, there's nothing physically wrong with them, you're going to go and work on their behavioral wellness. And that involves just, tweaking the circumstances. You're going to look at their nutrition, their exercise, their enrichment, and your communication with each other. So are they getting all the nutrition they need? Are they eating complete and balanced meals? Are they lacking in some kind of nutrient, which, the blood work will be able to tell you that too. Are they getting adequate and proper exercise? And by that, I don't mean playing chuck it for an hour. I don't. I'm sorry, but I don't. And the reason why is playing chuck it for like an hour, it's going to physically tire them out, but mentally it's going to craze them. They're going to be like, throw the ball, get the ball, 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 and it doesn't get any better. So mentally, they're still all wired, even though physically they're tired. And you want their exercise to tire them out mentally as much as it does physically. So that's why things like walks in the woods, it doesn't have to be off leash. It can be on leash on a nice 8 to 10 foot line. Many of our towns and everything in Massachusetts with COVID, all off leash areas are now on leash, and that's okay. You can get the same type of enrichment and exercise with an 8 foot or 10 foot leash. Many of the state parks allow 8 to 10 foot leashes. And you can kind of just let them explore their area. You're going to let them sniff. You're going to let them roll in dirt. You're going to let them eat leaves if you don't them eating leaves. I don't. My dog gets to eat whatever he wants as long as it isn't poop. And one of them likes to eat deer poop. The other one likes to roll and dip things. And you know what? Fine. If that's what makes her happy, there's a reason why the crates are easy to clean, I tell you. They get a bath before they go inside. I do try to avoid allowing her to roll in dead things, but sometimes it just doesn't happen. So you want to see what kind of exercise you're doing, and then you want to change it up to things that are more just mentally calming. You can go and find large grassy areas and allow them to like snuffle around in the grass. You can use some scatters in the grass, let them search for their food and forage around for their food. You want to give them some enrichment. You want to add puzzle bowls to their routine. You want to add Kongs and Tobbles and stuffed toys. You want to let them shred things if they like to shred things. So that's where the Amazon boxes and Chewy boxes come in handy. Or my older dog, enjoys shredding junk mail. So all my junk mail goes to her, and then I get to clean it up later, but mentally she's happier. And then you want to check out your communication. Are you effectively communicating to your dog that this is not okay and that they can still get what they want through other calmer, more socially appropriate for us methods? Because for dogs, barking and lunging is socially appropriate, but for humans, it's not. It's embarrassing for us. It's rude. So we can teach them that they can use that they can use their calm behavior in order to communicate their needs. But first, we have to teach that to them. So you want to look at all of these. And if you meet all these needs and you work on all of these and you tweak the circumstances and you tweak everything that they have and that they need, and they still have issues, that's when we start doing some real nitty and gritty training. So that's where counter conditioning and desensitization comes in. And all that means is you're going to change your dog's emotional response to triggers, dogs, people, procedures, or just the environment. How long does desensitization and counter conditioning take? How long does behavior modification take? Favorite answer, it depends. It takes as long as it takes. There are no fixes. If the trainer is boasting quick fixes, run. Because all they're doing is suppressing behavior. There will be fallout from this. All right, so management or training. What's the difference and which should you use? The difference is management, you're just tweaking the circumstances so that you're like tweaking the environment so that they can't practice the behavior that they've been practicing that we want to change. So like, for example, if you have a dog that likes to counter surf, you're going to gate off the kitchen. You're going to make sure that there's nothing on the counters for them to get, so that if they do climb on the counters, there's no reward for them there. There's nothing good for them to get. So that's what management is. In my case with my dog, creating her so that she doesn't eat the trash and eat cables and wires and stuff, that's management. Training is what you do to counter the behaviors, to teach them other things that they can do instead. And really, you want to use both at all times. So like while you're training something, you want to also manage for moments when you can't train and can't be there to train. I like to use consent in behavior modification. I'm about to get really, really nerdy here. Introducing consent is just adding that cooperative, that counter conditioning. We're adding a cooperative factor to it, which means that the dog is cooperating. The dog is choosing whether or not that they're going to participate in the procedure. So, and it establishes trust. The animal says, we're starting now, we can continue, and we need to stop. And that the animal can leave at any point. But does the dog really understand that they're consenting to something? In theory, yes. The dog understands that if they do A, B will happen. And if they don't want B to happen, then they're just not going to do A. My dog understands that if he gives me a sustained nose touch, this is his nose, this is my hand. If he gives me a sustained nose touch, we're going to play agility. If he doesn't want to play agility, he's not going to give me the nose touch, because it's our reinforcement history. Nose bump means agility. Nose bump means agility. Oh, I really don't want to do agility, so I'm not going to do the nose bump. See what I'm saying? Instead of the cookie being the reward, agility is the reward. And that's where the consent comes in. It's just antecedent behavior and consequence. But in practice, does it really matter? As long as the dog is comfortable and the procedure is successful, I really don't care if they actually understand, and that's just us getting nerdy. So here's my extremely food aggressive older dog, Sansa. She's gonna hit a button there. It like looks like one of those Staples Easy buttons, and it's my voice recorded saying, yes, please. And she's on a platform with my cat on a platform, and there's food in between. Now, I am teaching her that other animals are not going to take her food away from her. So if she hits the button, I'm going to give a cookie to the cat, and then I'm going to give a cookie to her. If she does not hit the button, I'm not going to give the cat a cookie, but I'm also not going to give her a cookie either. She knows these rules because I've done this game with her with other cats. I've done this with her with other dogs. I've done this with her, like this is not a first session. This is like maybe her 6th session with this particular cat. They started with her behind an X pen. And we'll just take a quick look at that. She hits the button, he gets a cookie, she gets the cookie. And at one point, he's going to remove his paw from the platform that he is on. And she doesn't like that. The rules have changed. She's going to look at him. She's going to stiffen. She's going to eyeball him. And he's going to put it back on. She loosens up a little bit. He moves towards the bowl. I cover it. because I don't want him going towards it, because then that'll cause conflict. She stiffened a little bit more. She was making a decision, and then finally she hit the button again. And I don't know if you noticed it, but she hit it harder that time. She pushed it behind her. She was okay with it, but she was also kind of uncomfortable. So right after that set, I ended the session. I was like, we're done, because I was a little worried about what she would do at that point, and I didn't want to push her past a successful point. So yeah. Are these procedures really successful? Yeah, she attacks dogs all the time over food. She attacks cats. She attacks, like, she used to have to be fed her meals behind 2 different barriers because she would go after Flash. She's over here, like, what, 2 feet away from this cat? That's awesome. That's really awesome, in my opinion. All right, I already played that. All right, stuff we all want to talk about. I'm sorry, I'm going a little later than I thought I would. I do want to leave some time for questions. Transitioning back to real life. What are you going to do when it's time to go back to the office? Well, you're going to start now. I want you to work on crating or confining your dog for short periods of time every day, every few days. So like they're going to be crated while you're in your office for like an hour, and then 2 hours, and 3 hours. If your dog is struggling, it's going to be 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, these kind of things. You're going to leave them alone when you leave the house for a few hours. You're going to go grocery shopping. If you see any kind of separation anxiety, you're going to reduce this also to minutes. You're going to give your dog something to do. Food puzzles, safe chewy items, safe shreddable items. Like I was talking about, all of these will come in handy. All of these will help your dog be behaviorally well in the long run and make the transition a lot easier. And then you don't want to make a big deal of coming and going. Oh, none of this, oh, bye, Fluffy, I'm going to miss you. And then, oh my gosh, I missed you so much. Come here and give me kisses. And just make no big deal. No big deal. Coming and going is not a thing. And hire a dog walker, because they have to hold it for 8 hours if they don't absolutely necessarily have to. What to look for in a dog walker, of course, because I'm a positive reinforcement trainer, I would prefer you find a dog walker that also subscribes to these. In general, a good dog walker will want to schedule meet and greets. They will take the time at the meet and greet to observe your dog, learn about your dog's body language, figure them out. They will be knowledgeable about their body language. And you'll feel this too in this interview, but they are interviewing you as a potential client as much as you are interviewing them as a potential service provider. And you will feel that give and take. You are the interviewee as much as you are the interviewer. And that is a thing. I, as a dog walker, don't have to take every client. I don't need you. You may not need me either. There are plenty of us. So it's really an interview process for both of you to see how good of a fit you really are. And then, of course, they'll be bonded, insured, and pet first aid and CPR certified. That's important. That's how many times I've had incidents on walks, dogs with seizures and everything. I didn't know what to do. Oh, glad I was trained. Right, you're interested in sports. We have lure coursing. I've got lots of videos, but I don't know if we'll have time to watch them all. You have so many options. You have competition obedience, you have agility, you have tri-ball, you have scent sports, and that includes tracking, barn hunt, nose work, you have dock diving, lure coursing, and more. To get started, you want to go find your local training center or a local club, call them up, be like, hey, I have a dog and I want to do this. They'll help you. What kinds of dogs are best for the sports? If you have a dog that's easily aroused and worked up, maybe something like nose work might do them good. And maybe even agility, depending on why they're getting worked up. Not all dogs are suited for all sports, and not all sports are suited for all dogs. You'll figure it out as you go. Many people really want to do agility with their dogs because it's so much fun, but it's not always the best sport for every dog. Case in point, Flash. He's not good for agility. What are the benefits for sport training? You build your dog's confidence, you build your relationship, the bond that comes from training sports, it's next to none. And then what should you do? Again, your dog will tell you. This is where you can find me. That's my email, that's my social media, and my website.